many of you know, is an incredible person on our planet who does peace work, activist work on all different levels. And I'm very honored and thankful to work with her. Thank you. Yeah, and she is, she's been on many of these Freedom Flotilla coalitions. She works with Veterans for Peace, she works with Code Pink, and numerous other organizations. But tonight, she's here wearing her Freedom Flotilla to Gaza hat. This is a fundraiser, so open your hearts, your pocketbooks, your minds. I think most of you are quite educated, being in this amazing community with the Corey Foundation, about the situation in Palestine and Gaza. And Anna has incredible experience both with flotillas, having gone to Gaza, and worked with many, many countries around the world who are entwined with the effort to free Palestine. So, thank you for welcoming me in. We have lots of these shirts. All sizes, shapes, so we would love to sell as many as we can. And they're $20 each, as well as most of the stuff over here is free. Anne's book is over here, Dissent, Voices of Conscience, but that's $10. I'm the recipient of, I'm not the recipient of the money, I'm the one who collects the money and gets it where it needs to go. And if anyone is writing checks, Nonviolence International is our fiscal sponsor. And that would be most appreciated. I don't have capacity for credit cards, checks, or cash, but we can work it out. And we do have a website. It's on our little flyer that's in front of you. It's the Nation Builder site where you can donate online. So thank you very much. This is what we can do that here on my tablet. You can do that here on tablets. I also have a tablet. You can do it immediately tonight if that's what works. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kit. Well, thank you, Kit, and again to echo our thanks to the Rachel Corey Foundation for Cindy and Craig and Jessica and all of the support for kind of a fast-moving opportunity that we're taking advantage of to get to various parts of the country to be yet one more part of the incredible team that works to educate people about what's going on in Palestine, whether it's the West Bank or whether it's in Gaza. We all know it's tough going right now for the people, for Palestinians everywhere, and particularly we'll focus on Gaza. It was, well, for a little of my background, for those that may not run into you, I used to be in the U.S. military for 29 years. I retired as a colonel, and that's where I've got all these vets for peace that are. Vets for peace. In fact, I just got back from an 18-day trip to Vietnam with Veterans for Peace, where we were there as a U.S. veterans organization to give our apologies to the people of Vietnam for that horrific war that we waged on them. And particularly 50 years ago was the commemoration of a horrific act, that being the My Lai massacre, where 504 Vietnamese women, children, elderly were massacred, truly massacred, in a 4-hour period. We'll pull this a little bit because we want your food to get in. Sure. So I was in the U.S. military, and then I was a U.S. diplomat for 16 years and served in U.S. embassies in Nicaragua, Grenada, Somalia, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Sierra Leone, Micronesia. I helped reopen the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan in December of 2001, then went on to my last assignment, which was with the U.S. Embassy in Mongolia. And it was there in March of 2003 that I ended up resigning from the government over the Iraq War. So, since then, I have been been working with groups that are challenging the U.S. government, that government that I was a part of for almost 40 years. And the issue of Israel-Palestine was one of the very first questions that any U.S. diplomat is asked about. What about the unbalanced policies that we have on Israel and Palestine? And about all you can say as a diplomat is, well, that's just the way America does things. There's no rationale to it, other than it's just a racist policy that's been going on forever. And trying to get it changed is one of the things that we all work on. How many of you all are working on issues of Palestine? Good. Thank you all very much. Whether it's boycott, divestment, and sanctions, whether it's whatever part of this it is, we really appreciate what you're doing. And what I'm going to talk about tonight is one kind of an extreme way to get attention to Gaza. It was on March 16th in 2003, which is 15 years ago, that Rachel was killed by the Israeli occupation forces in Gaza. And thinking back of the sacrifice of her life and the attention now that has been brought to what is going on in Gaza through her tragic death, to highlight that she is one of many people in Gaza who's lost their lives there. It's just, we know her. I mean, I don't know her, but I feel like I know her through you all over these years. And I know this community of Olympia knows, many of you knew her personally, but those who didn't, we know through Rachel and the work that you all do, the horrific situation that people in Gaza are facing. And whatever mechanism it is that we can appeal to people in our country to put pressure on our congressmen and women, so that someday we may have a sane policy that will recognize the Palestinians, that recognize that they are due the respect that every other person in the world is due, that they should have the same human rights, that they should not be in an oppressive society with an occupation over them. So that's really why we do what we do, whether it's working with the Rachel Corrie Foundation and doing the great works that you do in Gaza that help kids survive in a very oppressive place. A place that we know that is a place, as we see on this map, that you all have seen this 1,000 times, I'm sure, of how the state of Israel was created out of the Palestine Mandate, and how over the period of years the amount of land that the Palestinians have has been essentially cut by well over 50%. And if you look up in the West Bank area where the illegal settlements have just cut the place apart, where you look down in Gaza, tiny little Gaza, 25 miles long, 5 miles wide, and over 2 million people now living there. The first time that Kit and I ever went to Gaza, and in fact I went the second time, Craig and Cindy were so kind to go with us in 2009, in March of 2009 for International Women's Day. And at that time, 1.6 million people lived in Gaza. So now the population has increased by over 25% in this period of less than 9 years. So the birth rate is very big in Gaza. More people needing services, more people needing water, electricity, things like that. More people needing an ability to survive and not be attacked by the state of Israel. And we remember in 2009 when just a couple of months before, 2 months before we went there in March of 2009, the Israeli military had a 27-day attack on Gaza. An attack that left, nearly 1,200 people that were dead, 10,000 wounded, 50,000 left homeless. A horrific attack. How many of y'all remember that? That's been 9 years ago. 9 years ago. And then you remember in 2012 there was the 5-day attack, and then 2014, 4 years ago, was the horrific 51-day attack. They killed well over 2,500 people. Over 500 children were killed I think it was something like 18,000 people were wounded during that 51-day attack, and well over 250,000 people left homeless. It was a horrific, horrific attack, and maybe some of you all saw it really kind of for the first time on TV, because for the first time CNN actually had a TV crew inside Gaza. It's the first time they ever did that. And we saw American journalists in there cowering from the enormous Israeli attack on Gaza. And what did it amount to? Well, it amounted, as it has every single time, whether it was 2009, 2012, 2014, the enormous damage that was done to a small population. These scenes of the horrific damage that's being done by the Israeli aircraft, by missiles, by artillery, by naval gunfire, most of it being from the United States. Missiles that are tested on people in Gaza. Gaza is a testing ground for the United States. It's a testing ground for Saxon drones. The Israelis were the first ones to come up with these drones killing people, assassinating people in their 24-hour coverage of Gaza. The Israelis know every single person that is in Gaza. They know where they live. They know their telephone numbers because it's an Israeli telephone exchange that they have in Gaza. Nothing happens in Gaza that the Israelis don't know about. So these horrific pictures that you see there, horrific pictures of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people being left homeless, and then how do they rebuild their homes? Well, right now the mayor of Gaza City has declared an emergency for Gaza City and for most of Gaza because of collapsing systems, the healthcare system. Now they're saying that the 40% of the medicines in Gaza have run out. That hospitals don't have enough fuel to run the generators because the electricity that's coming in from Israel hasn't been paid for. Problems with the Palestinian authorities that's supposed to transfer funds in for Gaza has not been doing that. 206 essential medicines having run out. Hospitals that are coming barren of just anything but people in them. 27 drugs, or 6% of medicines are gone. Disposable equipment is not being replaced. $18 billion is required to restock supplies, and that money is not coming in. And as I mentioned, there's a great problem within the Palestinian community, where the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah has not been moving money over to Gaza as a way to pressure the Hamas government to do what? Well, what they have done is allow the PA to now take over the security functions on the borders of Gaza. So this is the way that the Palestinian Authority is trying to get control over Gaza, over a government that was elected by the people of Gaza. So we have to acknowledge there are splits within the Palestinian community. Again, just some pictures of the empty shelves for medicines. Doctors are protesting the lack of medicines in the hospitals. The economic problems that are there. It's always been a mystery to me how Gaza has been able to survive. Period. With the borders of Gaza now being totally surrounded. Three sides by Israel, and one side by Egypt. And the Egyptian al-Sisi regime having closed off that Gaza southern border so that people cannot have a free flow back and forth. The limitation on raw materials coming into Gaza, unemployment rates very, very high, as they are in most places in the Middle East right now. A huge number of young people without jobs. The opportunity to have any sort of business contact outside of Gaza. In the past, there have been ability for business people to conduct business through Israel. And in fact, some Palestinian doctors actually were working in Israeli hospitals. But then all of this contact has now been cut off. The numbers of people that are allowed to go across into Gaza or into Israel dropping from 3,500 to only 675 for business purposes this year. Salaries for government workers have not been coming through. The Palestinian Authority has been holding much of that. The crisis in electricity, where, as I mentioned before, the electric grid of Gaza is based on Israel. And when the Israelis don't let electricity come through for whatever reason, whether it's not getting paid, that's one good reason, but just for pure meanness, that's another reason that it's happened all too frequently. And right now, you probably read that in Gaza, electricity is available less than 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day. So how do you do your life? And how do you cook? How do kids study at night? What do you have in the refrigerator? How does the hospital system work without electricity? This is one of the great understatements of the world. That one of the international organizations says that the Gaza economy is underperforming. Well, that is an understatement. Yeah. With all of this pressure on, how could it be performing at all? And what has the Trump administration done? We know about the Bush administration, the Obama administration did, which was about nothing. And now under the Trump administration, it's getting even worse. That now Trump has cut by 50% the U.S. donations into the United Nations Works and Relief Agency, UNRWA, which is the agency that for the last how many years, decades, 6 decades at least, nearly 70 years, has been providing funding to Palestinian refugee camps. And those refugee camps are in Gaza, they're in Jordan, they're in Lebanon, they're in Syria. And the United States has now cut by 50% the amount of money that we give to that agency. And that agency runs remarkable schools for Palestinians and health clinics for Palestinians and programs for Palestinians. And yet now our U.S. administration, the Trump administration, has said they have cut it by 50%. The other part of this is the opening of the U.S. Embassy, or the moving of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which is one of the great flashpoints of all of issues in the Middle East right now. That indeed that the U.S. government will, even though Congress has authorized this for a long time, no administration has done this because they have considered this to be such a dangerous move for the Middle East. That Jerusalem is supposed to be a holy city. It's not to be a city but a state of Israel. As a capital city. And yet the Bush administration Trump has now made that decision that they, despite knowing full well, they are willing to precipitate violence. And that's what it will be tragically. There will be violence in May when the official move of the U.S. Embassy goes from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And they purposely do that to put Palestinians in a position where they feel, many of them feel they must say something. They must do something to protest that. There already have been riots, there have been demonstrations against this, and yet we have the Trump administration backed up by right-wing Jewish groups and individuals, including Sheldon Adelson, the great, huge casino guy that has money to burn, and so he said, I'll build a new U.S. embassy there. That's what it takes. If the U.S. government doesn't have enough money, I will build it for you. And then we've got the fundamentalist Christian groups that say, yes, we want to have that there. And then we've got Jewish groups that agree with it. But there are a lot of Jewish groups that don't agree with it too. So what do we do in face of all that? How do we get attention from our own American public and people around the world to the fight of what Palestinians are facing these days. I mean, how many of you all would like to live in Gaza right now, facing all of that? With sewage coming down, the sewage problem that they have there. The Israelis target, every time they attack Gaza, they target the electrical plant, they target the water facility and the sewage facility, and then won't let the spare parts go in to repair it. So there's open sewage that's just going right into the Mediterranean, right in the areas where the fishermen, the Gaza fishermen, attempt to fish. If the Israelis will allow them to go out into waters where there are fish. But as we've seen over the last years, the numbers of fishermen that get killed or wounded and their boats taken increase every year. So there's not really much that's happening there. One would say, I think I'd volunteer, I'll go live in Gaza. Not many. I mean, Rachel was one of the few in the grave. It really was. And right now, how can people even get into Gaza? They essentially can't. There have been very, very few people that have been able to get into Gaza over the last 4 years. How many would you all estimate have gone in?
I know that there are NGOs that are still able to get people in, but the number has decreased. I couldn't give you a number. I know that with Craig and I,
Their servers are already like that. I'll just keep speaking up higher.
yeah, Craig and I tried to go in 2012 and we worked with the COGAT for about a week, and they said we did not meet the criteria to go through Arabs quickly. I think since Rafah crossing has been closed so much of the time, it's made it very hard because many of us were using that route through Egypt.
We were all using the Rafah crossing from Egypt to get into Gaza, and with the Al-Sisi government, they have pretty well closed off that border. Very, very few people are getting through the border now. And only a few NGOs are able to get their personnel through the Israel crossing into Gaza. So essentially, Gaza still is that open air prison where kids that are many of your ages have scholarships waiting for them in the international community, but they can't get out to get them. There are people that are dying in Gaza right now because they can't get out to get the right medical treatment. So in order to bring something to this, one way is to break that naval blockade of Gaza. One way of getting international people in is to use the one port that there is in Gaza City. So that's where this Gaza Freedom Flotilla comes in. That we've been trying over the years, and here are some of the logos of the various missions that our Gaza Freedom Flotilla has been on. From the very, very beginning of boats trying to get into Gaza, starting in 2008 with the Free Gaza movement, where they had two small ships in 2008 that left from Cyprus and took 40 people on this little tiny boat that made everyone sicker than dogs on it. They were so seasick the whole way. But they got in. The Israelis were stunned that the international community, come right on in, that the international community was willing to send, there's some seats right up here, Bible right there. There we go. I'll just get this out of your foot. There we go. Not worry. So the very first boats got in because the Israelis were so stunned. I mean, it had been 40 years since really anybody had gone into the Gaza City harbor. And so when these two little boats filled with internationals came in, Israel didn't know what to do, and they let them in. And if you can see if you look on the docks up there, there were tens of thousands of people that had come down to the docks to see that very first group. And if you see the little dots in the water, those were the heads of little kids that were jumping in the water to come out and swim to these boats. And here's a good friend of ours. I think she was here recently last week. Yeah, Wrigh. She was one of the instigators of the Free Gaza movement, as well as the international solidarity movement. And this is one of the iconic photos of Wrigh on the bow of this boat. going into Gaza City. And here's another picture. Just look up on the walls there. Every time there is a boat that is scheduled to try to get into Gaza, there are tens of thousands of people in Gaza that come out to the docks to look onto the horizon to see if maybe that little speck that they see on the horizon, maybe that's a boat that's going to get through the Israeli blockade. It's so important. One of the reasons we do this is, of course, to bring international attention to what's going on in Gaza. And we do that through educational things like us going around with deliveries, with all of the people that get to Gaza to talk about the conditions. But the other thing that we do for this, the reason this is important to us to do is it gives people in Gaza hope. Hope that they aren't forgotten. That indeed there are a bunch of crazy internationals that are going to get on a boat and they're going to go across that Mediterranean and they're going to try again to get in to see us in Gaza. The school teachers use this every single year that we do this. They start talking about in their classrooms about boats coming to Gaza. And the kids sometimes will make little boats and they'll come down and float the boats. It becomes quite a deal in Gaza. The radio stations talk about what's going on. The television station has video, and in fact, I'll show you some of the what happened later when we had a Al Jazeera team with us on the women's boat to Gaza that every 4 hours was broadcasting to the Middle East what was happening on that boat. And the people in Gaza saw what was happening on the boat. That indeed the boat was coming, And the day that we were supposed to be there, 34 miles off where we were stopped, there were tens of thousands of people down on the beach waiting to see if that boat would get through. So here's another couple of shots of that. You're quite welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
So here's some other pictures of the tens of thousands of people. And that was in 2008, and then in the summer of 2008. And then later on in the summer, they got even a bigger boat, a boat that could actually really make the voyage pretty well. And the Dignity boat that came in with 28 people on it, including European members of Parliament that came in on this boat. And you can see them arriving, all on the bow of the boat. Well, the Israelis didn't like that image at all. And so when they tried it again later on, in December of 2008, the Israelis started using violence against the boats. You can see the boat there that has been rammed by an Israeli boat and almost sunk it. And that boat had to crawl back into Lebanon harbor and barely made it back. So that was the first indication that the Israelis were really going after the boats. And in fact, from that time on, none of the boats got into Gaza. There are other boats that tried this in early 2009. This was as the Israelis were attacking Gaza in the Operation Cast Lead. There were boats that were still trying to get in. A cargo boat, and here's another boat, the Spirit of Humanity, that tried to get in. And then you remember in 2010, in 2009 there was the great outrage against the 27-day attack. And a decision was made by the organizers of the Free Gaza movement that we need to have not just one or two boats, we need a flotilla to go. And they started organizing internationally. And that's where you remember the big ship, the Marmara, in the summer of 2009. 600 people on this Turkish ship that was sponsored by the International Humanitarian Organization in Turkey. And there were 5 other boats that were part of that flotilla. I was on this boat initially, and then moved from that boat the day or the afternoon that we were to turn to go to Gaza. And I got on a smaller little boat because we had other people coming. They wanted to be on the big boat. So several of us, to include Valeda, myself, and others, got off. And we were on the little boat that took this picture of the Marmara as it was under attack by the Israeli military. The boat was targeted by snipers from helicopters. snipers were shooting down at people on the top of the boat, killing them. There were 9 people that were killed. Many on the inside of the boat after the commandos boarded the boat were shot at point blank range. People had multiple gunshots to them at close range. We have the autopsies of all of the bodies that were done by the Turkish medical examiner. We know exactly how close the Israeli soldiers were, that they targeted specific people and murdered them. These were acts of murder. 9 people were killed on that boat. 1 person died later on. Over 50 people were wounded on the boat. And here are some of the pictures of the persons that were killed. It's the boat a year later in Istanbul Harbor, and it was on the first year anniversary commemoration of the deaths of those people. The Israeli government had returned that boat. It is one of the few boats that's ever been returned. They returned it, washing the blood off of it. But now it is in Istanbul, and it is a museum for what the Israelis did. And a couple of the other smaller boats that we had that were a part of that 2010 flotilla. This is the Stephanie, and you can see 2 of the commando boats that were going toward the Stephanie. There were over 15 boats, Israeli boats, that were out to stop that flotilla. There were submarines that were out there. There were jets overhead. There were helicopters. This is a major operation for the Israeli Navy. They expend a lot of money to try to stop these flotillas. And that's one of the things we want. We want them to spend money on this. We want them to have to work for this, even though we are always unarmed with unarmed civilians. This is another little boat. This was the Challenger, the one that I was on. And so that was in the fall of 2010, and there was such outrage around the world about the Israelis murdering internationals. One of the things that's interesting, how much outrage is it when there are 9 Palestinians that are killed? Yeah. Very seldom. Very seldom. So internationals putting themselves in harm's way is one way, not that we do it to get killed or to be wounded, but it is one of the ways that it brings attention from the international community to what the Israelis are capable of doing and are doing on a daily basis to the Palestinians. So later on in the fall of 2010, another boat, a small boat, a sailboat, called the Irene, or the Jewish boat to Gaza, called the Irene. And several of our friends were on that, and 2 former IOF, the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli Occupation Forces, the 2 Shapiro brothers were on that boat. And both of them had been members of the unit, the Special Forces unit, that actually was coming to stop that boat. And the Israelis knew that, and they tasered those 2 guys just because they were former IDF guys. The next year, 2011, you all were part of a great effort of us raising funds here in the United States to be a part of an international flotilla of 10 ships in 2011. And we had our own ship in the United States. The U.S. boat to Gaza called the Audacity of Hope. That's right. Right back in the face of the Obama administration, the Audacity of Hope. And Kip was on that voyage, and Megan Moran from Seattle was on it.
Oh, Richie Lopez.
Richie Lopez, yes. Yep. So we had about 50 people all together between media and passengers and crew members that were on this boat. And we were one of 10 boats that were a part of this from 10 nationalities. It's a big to-do all around the world. People were saying, take this money, go buy a boat, go challenge those Israelis after what they did to the last flotilla, go challenge them. And so we had a great flotilla, we did it. we had our boat in Piraeus and Greece, and then the Greeks said, "Oh, wait a minute, you can't leave. Your boats aren't in good shape. They're safety problems. They're this or that." And we're going, "No, our boats are in great shape. You've already signed up on the safety things." And what had happened is that the Israelis paid off the Greek government not to let these boats go. So what do you do when you have a whole boatload of activists who challenge their own government, like in the United States? How many of you all have challenged the U.S. government on things? Yeah, well, yes. So you got a boatload of them in Greece, and what do they say?
Oh, really?
Who cares what the Greek government
Yeah,
says?
we
Let's
already-
go!
And they're
I'm here to listen to the Greeks, so off we went.
It was also in the middle of the
And
Greek
then we got stopped by the Greek commandos. The Greek commandos, pointing their weapons at us just like the Israeli commandos had done. So we had a standoff in Greece for a couple of hours, and finally we ended up having to go back to Piraeus, and our boat docked there, and our captain put in jail. In fact, he's from the West Coast. He's a captain down in Monterey Bay. John Hughesmeyer. Here's a close-up of some of the commandos. Well, there were other boats. This is the Canadian boat that was down in Crete. And the Canadians said, after they heard that we had tried to make a run for it, they said, let's make a run for it too. So their strategy was to put some kayakers out in front of the Coast Guard boat that was going to probably chase after them. So these kayakers kept the Coast Guard boat at bay for 4 minutes or something. So that Tahir was able to at least get off the dock, sip away a little bit before they too were stopped. But then we knew that the Israelis were paying off and the Greeks not to let us go. There was one boat that was able to make it to as far as they could before the Israelis got them, and this was the Karima, which had never touched Greek soil. It had come from France, and when they heard all the things that were going on, they said, we're not coming in there. So they stayed off in the ocean and then went on to accost the Israelis. And here they are with the Israeli boat right behind them. Later on in the summer of 2011, we had 2 more boats that attempted to go to Gaza. And Kit, you were on one of them. Tell them what happened.
So this is the Dreer again, and
Come up here so they can get it up.
I do. Thank you.
so this is the Dreer again, and many of us went to Turkey to board it, and we were told we could have 25 to 30 passengers on it because it was very light. And then of course they came down with oh no, you can only have 13. So once again, many internationals came, and we had to pare down the crew. And we were also and then we left, and we were in tandem with the Irish boat, the Saoirse. And we left and had a jolly voyage across the Mediterranean until we had a Democracy Now! Was on board at that time, and we had connection with some Israeli, we had our Israeli communication on board to we had a Barat's connection. And then basically communications are cut off, which is the typical thing. You're up there and then it's shut down. And about 35, 36 miles out, we were surrounded by 17 Israeli warships. All different sizes, shapes, and to Anne's point, it is a war training ground. They were just doing all of their techniques, maneuvers. That's the intent. That's a big part of it. Because they certainly didn't need 17 for 2 very, obviously peaceful, non-threatening, transparent. So they actually did this maneuver where they circled around the Saoirse and drew their boat into ours, and its boat smashed into our bow, which we were all kind of going, what is going on? But it was one of their maneuvers they were practicing. And to make a long story short, we made it harder to get on the boat by putting up different ropes and things on the bow and stern, but that was kind of minimal. Came on board, we had a couple folks in the steering, in the wheelhouse, who were tasered. The rest of us were herded to the back, and we did not comply in the sense of, okay, yes, do this, do that. We made them move us, and then we were taken into the port and put into prison. And it was very interesting. The Israeli government was greeting their people, not the Israeli, the Irish government was there greeting their people off their boat, and I didn't get to talk to my government in 2 days. So, there was a, but it was a good solidarity with Ireland.
But just one thing, I think you probably said it, but I think it's important to keep in mind all the time that you're in international waters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, international.
Yeah.
We're always in international waters, and even though the Israelis say they have a security zone on Gaza, not for themselves, I mean, it's not out from their land, it's out from Palestinian land, and they claim it as a security zone for themselves. But every time we've been stopped, it's always been in international waters. Our boats are boarded against the will of the captain and passengers. We are arrested, we are bound up many times, handcuffed the whole rest of the time, taken against our will to a country we didn't want to go to, Israel, thrown in jail, and then deported. And it's a 10-year deportation, which means you cannot go back into Israel, therefore you can't go into the West Bank for 10 years. So it's a major limitation that you're doing when you go on these boats.
And I think to Cindy's point, that this whole maritime blockade is huge because fishing is a huge part of their sustenance. That's their biggest part of their protein for the children and for all people. And they are only allowed to go out 3 miles, even though there's it says 6 miles, but they are shot at. I've been out in boats. I've been shot at in boats. I know people who have been killed just last week, fishermen, and then they hauled their body away, didn't return it back to Gaza. This is a daily occurrence there. This is not random. This is very much a daily occurrence, and the fishing industry, as you can see by that map, that is a huge part of their economy, it's part of their lifestyle, it's part of their soul, and it is totally truncated, and it's totally barbarically attacked daily. And not to mention the sewage is going into all of their fish, so there's that contamination. So it's just this horrific attack on like a big part of their culture. It'd be like as in the Northwest, where their timber or our fishing industry and it's just like that. It's very visceral, and it's a huge part of the attack that Israel commits on a very intentional level all the time. And so that maritime piece, this maritime piece is big because we have never even been near enough to Gaza in our boats. We've been 20, 30, 40 miles out. They don't have any right. They are breaking international law, and that is what we need to hold our country and the world accountable. So they are breaking it day in, day out, all the time.
Thank you, Kit. Well, after 2011 and 2012, the Swedish campaign sent this beautiful, beautiful boat, the Estelle, to Gaza. And the Estelle was accosted 50 miles offshore. It was taken to Haifa Harbor, where now there is a flotilla inside Haifa Harbor. It's our boats. Our boats are in there. And the Israelis have a tourist attraction called Go Visit the Terrorist Boats.
In the museum of our boats.
We sued the Israeli government for the return of every one of these boats. And it looks like the Israeli Supreme Court is ordering this boat returned to us because of a technicality in how it was boarded. But when it is returned, it's going to be 6 years after they took it, and they do no maintenance or anything on these boats. So it's not going to be much when we get it back, but it's the principle of it. So another one of the projects we had was Gaza's Ark. It was taking a fishing boat in Gaza and renovating it into a cargo boat, and then asking you, the international community, to buy wonderful products still made in Gaza. Beautiful Palestinian embroidery crafts, wood carvings. There's a lot of stuff that's still done on a very small basis. And in fact, you can order it through the School of the Blind and Deaf. They have a wonderful catalog of things still produced in Gaza.
We are going to have an auction. I have some items that I brought back from. We're going to have an auction of items that I brought back. And if anybody has any that they may have that they would like to also auction for the Flotilla to Gaza, there are items that are from the deaf children, women's cooperative that I visited, and I brought items back. Yeah, so that will be online on our sites, which are available on our flyer that you all have. That's going to be part and parcel to our fundraiser. And look for that.
And tell them about what else you brought back, the photographs that were the paintings that are on the wall.
Okay, so these paintings are 4 of the maybe 12 that I brought back from. You're really teary with this. This was in 2009 after Operation Cast Lead, my first visit to Gaza. And we went to the art center there, the Agatan Art Center, and she showed us these paintings. I mean, actually these were from June. We went in March the first time, and in June, this is when we were shown these pictures, and the director of the art place was just, she's an amazing woman, and thousands of children go through this art center for children. It's sponsored by Zalbatan, and it's through England and Palestinians. I think you know, yeah.
It's fine.
Yes,
But it's a Qatar Foundation.
the Al-Qatan Foundation. And I said, wow, I would love to bring these back to show people because they are so profound. And so I try to bring them out as much as often, but these are, if you look at them, they speak for themselves, obviously. And so they're from the 2009 Operation Cast Lead.
Well, and it shows what the kids are going through and the people, everybody in Gaza going through all of these endless attacks, and how the kids feel, and all of the military paraphernalia that they know about. They see these things around them all the time. Well, anyway, so it was great plan.
I just wanted to point out, I'm looking at this picture too, but when we were there, the artists that were working with the children talked about how almost every picture had a depiction of the sun in it, and how hopeful that was that the kids, you look at them, they're helicopters, they're bombs, they're all these other things, but there's also the sun there as a piece of hope. And so in 2009, these kids still had hope, despite everything that happened in their lives. It was a lot.
It is,
Thank
it's
you.
sure a lot.
Yeah.
They have hope under all of
Yeah.
these things.
And that's what this is about, is continue to help them.
Well, and the hope that we had of bringing goods out of Gaza, breaking the blockade from the inside, going out. And so here is the fishing boat as it was in the beginning, and then as we renovated it, we had hired 10 Gaza craftsmen and sailors, giving employment to people of Gaza and all this. And then, you know, like many of these things, the Israeli press covers these projects really more than the international press does. People in Gaza knew about Gaza's Ark, the government knew about it, and they sent someone in to make sure that Ark didn't go anyplace. So one night there was a big explosion in the stern of the boat, and it started sinking. Well, we renovated it, we got it back up, and then in 2014, on the second day of the massive 51-day attack on Gaza, our little Gaza Ark got hit too. And we think it was definitely a purposeful hit to say, don't you do this again. So here's Gaza's Ark, which broke everyone's heart, because people in Gaza had worked so hard on it, So we continued on though. The next year, in 2015, we had 3 boats that attempted to break the Israeli blockade of Gaza. The little flotilla was headed by the Marianne, which is a boat out of Norway, and 3 small sailboats that we had from an unidentified country. They did not go all the way down to be captured. We sailed them to kind of add a little spice to this. The Israelis didn't have a clue what was happening. 4 boats coming at them, and then 3 of them kind of disappeared on them. The next year, we had what was called the Women's Boat to Gaza. Do you like that logo up there? Isn't that beautiful? That was done by a young man from Ramallah. We had an international competition for the logo for that trip. We had a boat called the Zaytuna, the olive, and another boat called Amal, the hope. And they set sail, we attempted to set sail from Barcelona, Spain. In fact, Kit and I were on the first leg of this from Barcelona, Spain to Ajaccio, Corsica, France, and then from France on down to Messina, Sicily. Kit and I were on the boat, and Keith, stand up. Keith was a great part of the women's boat to Gaza. As where all men should have been at that time on the land, not on the boat. He was part of our ground crew, and this is a very important part because when we're making these voyages, and I'll tell you about this one we're coming up with, because we need your help, not only for the financial part of it, but we have an opportunity for all of you all to participate in really helping out with these boats and being on one of the legs of the boats. But this is the women's boat to Gaza in 2016. The last leg of it, which was 1,300 miles, 12,000 miles. I'll show you where that went. 1,700 miles total. It went from Spain to Corsica, France, then down to Sicily, and then 1,000 miles from Sicily all the way to 34 miles off the coast of Gaza before we were stopped by the Israelis. Here they come after us again. It was very interesting this time. They recognized that there were 13 women on board. The captain was a woman, an Egyptian Australian captain, who has been the captain of many big ships, including the Medicine Sans Frontières ship in the Mediterranean that's picked up migrants that were out floating around for years. She's been on the boat for years with the migrants. Anyway, and then we had crew members from Norway and Sweden. And then the passengers, we had 10 passengers, including a Nobel Peace Laureate, Marie McGuire, 2 members of Parliament, one from Australia, one from Algeria, and one from New Zealand, an Olympic athlete from South Africa. We had a journalist from Al Jazeera who were broadcasting every 4 hours. There would be a broadcast from the boats to Gaza, the women's boat to Gaza. So the people in the Middle East, every 4 hours, they would see an interview with someone that was on board the boat, telling why it was important that they were on the boat. They had another team that was in Gaza, talking to people in Gaza about how important this boat was. So it was a very, very important time. And in fact, we can pass this. This is the only one of these books we have left at the moment. But our Malaysian contingent, our doctor who was on the full length of this, a Malaysian woman doctor, Dr. Fazia Hassan, the Malaysian NGO that we now work with called My Care, who has a program in Gaza right now. They produced this beautiful, beautiful book on the women's boat to Gaza. So I'll start with Cindy. Let her see this, and then we'll pass it around. If anybody wants to order a copy, we will take some orders and figure out how to get them from Malaysia. But it's a wonderful, wonderful book. So we were accosted by the Israeli Navy and the boats as they were coming up. We were wondering, how are they going to do this? They know it's a boat filled with women. They know exactly who the women are because we've been broadcasting and all over. So what are they going to do? Very interestingly, they had women sailors. They were the first ones to come on board our boat. And they had no weapons. So this was showing that the Israelis, kind of knew how to do a PR thing on
Yeah,
land.
exactly.
That we are the very benevolent people. We don't even carry the weapons when we're stopping these women.
Well, even though we're breaking international
Yeah,
law.
even though they're breaking international law. So it was a bit of an interesting sideline to that. So what are we going to do now? Well, the reason we're here is to tell you about the 2018 project that we have. The project's Road to Gaza, and this is going to be a big, big project. We're taking the boats. We're going to have at least 4 boats with this. 2 of the boats are going to sail from Scandinavia around the Atlantic side of Europe. We'll be stopping in places in England, probably the Netherlands, maybe Belgium, in
Germany.
France, in Portugal,
Germany.
well, in the center in Germany. So, and then come into the Mediterranean. Then we're going to have 2 other boats that are going down the center part of Europe through the waterways and rivers. The first time we've ever done that. We, of course, shallow draft vessels. And this is where you all come in, because we need your help. We need people that are at every one of the ports, which could be up to, how many ports get?
But up to 12, but 10 probably.
Up to 12 ports, at least on the Atlantic side, and through the middle part, there will be, every night the boats will be docking someplace. So if you all are interested, if you happen to be in Europe this summer and would like to meet a boat and to help, Kit is our organizer for the ground crews for all of the Atlantic coast areas. You want to tell them about this?
Well, just, we're going to be starting mid-May, and that will be Scandinavia, heading south as the map shows. We aren't disclosing specific ports, but it's, it's not like the high secret. We would be very transparent, but we're still in the pinching it in stage. And basically, we're hoping to have 4 to 5 people at least in each of the ground crews, and also the hosting communities have their campaigns. So we have, a campaign in Sweden, and we have campaigns in Spain. So they will be aiding us. But basically, all hands on deck, because at each port, what we are hoping to do, we're hoping to have a media event, we have educational events, we have people coming with music, and you name it, to highlight this over a 2-month period, because we'll be going from mid-May and we're leaving southern Europe, probably Italian area, but we don't know. So that will be mid-July. So there's a full 2 months. People are very welcome, of course, to be at any of those ports. Also, just to share this information, because I know many of you know folks who travel and who are supportive of it. And also, there are openings on different legs. So I am the contact for that. And our websites, again, that will direct you to me, marnikit@gmail. So, yeah.
And let's have a person who's done the ground crew, Mr. Kit. Tell us a little what's
Mr. Kit.
This is Mr. Kit, yeah.
Mr. Keith with Mrs. Kit.
No, it was with the Women's Boat to Gaza, it was a great experience because you get the chance to meet other people, go to different ports, see the support in other parts of the world, and the knowledge that people have of what's going on. In the United States, most of the time, you have people that just aren't aware of what's going on, or they think it's not a big deal, or that other people aren't aware, the rest of the world isn't aware. For me, it was great because you can see these people that are inspired, that are going to help others, and I couldn't be out the boat because I'm a woman. But you know, whatever your skill sets, we were schlepping. I was doing laundry, We were going grocery shopping, we were doing whatever needed to be done with regard to getting people to their hotels or to their accommodations, and then just being there for support and also being able to celebrate the awareness that was being brought forth.
Yeah, we had mayors coming in from each of the stops, and we had great music, and we have media needs. We have somebody carrying gas cans onto the boat, cleaning the boat.
It doesn't matter your skill level.
Yeah.
And it was great team.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's really fun with a purpose.
So how many of you all are going to Europe next summer?
This summer.
This summer, yeah. Really, is anybody already scheduled to go to Europe, or do you know somebody that's going?
Spread the word.
Yeah, spread the word. Because
You know you're
it's really exciting. It's fun to be a part of all of this. And what are we going to be using on our boat? We are going to be using a fishing trawler. It's being renovated as we speak, and Alda, meaning the return. The return. And that's what we have up here on the back of our T-shirt. This is the fishing boat that's already been out of the water. We are moving forward with this, and I'll tell you. Thank you. We are
Selling t-shirts.
yeah, we are okay. We are financing this on credit right now. The person who is selling us this boat has been allowing us to renovate the boat, and we still haven't paid the full price of it. So that's why we are around on this fundraiser, because we got to pay off our debts in this great little boat. How many people will be on it? 27 people will be on it. We'll have a crew of 6 on it. We'll have, on the final leg, we'll have 6 media on it, and then we'll have 14 passengers. Every country that's a part of this gets 1 passenger. So we in the United States we are asking for nominations. We need high visibility people that will get media from the US to cover this thing. So if you have a suggestion, a real suggestion of somebody you think might do this. I mean, we've got lots of suggestions, okay? Let's get Angela Davis, okay? Well, we've asked her and she said, no, thank you, can't do it. I believe in the program. But we need somebody that has some name recognitions that you really think might do this. Because it's not for everyone. I mean, everybody on our last voyage was seasick. And seasick for a long time. It's a strenuous voyage. It can be a dangerous voyage. But we need some nominations from people. So if you think of someone, let us know.
But given that, this boat won't be as nauseating. It was a smaller sailboat. This is a larger motorboat. So to be more encouraging in the sense of it.
Don't want to go.
No, you don't have to nominate people who can wear with all that nauseating. It's going to be much more, it is a larger, more stable boat than a tiny sailboat.
And on our little flyers, you have all the information that we now put up here, where you can donate if you want to donate online, or we have a Facebook, so you can keep up with it. And as a very end of this, I want to play something for you. Can you help me with all this stuff? This is a song that was written on our Women's Boat to Gaza and sung the last night for the Al Jazeera team, who filmed it and uploaded it. So the next day, whenever we were stopped by the Israeli forces, that this would be playing on Al Jazeera.
We are parenting equipment here to sail with me. Towards her sisters in this foreign land. Your grandmothers they planted olive trees. But on the land where you should live in peace. Those trees are 1,000 years, they haven't died away. Make doctors want you secrets and to let them stay. We will save for your freedom, our sisters in Palestine. They will never be silent until you are free. We will save for your freedom, our sisters in Palestine. We will never be silent until you are
So that's the bottom line. We're going to keep sailing until the people of Palestine are free. And we hope that you can join us in whatever manner you can. All donations and thoughts are deeply appreciated, no matter how small the donation or how big the thought. So how about some questions and answers, or how about some questions and we'll see what we can do to answer them. Or questions or comments or whatever. Cindy?
I have a couple of questions. One is, I'd love to hear your reaction to John Bolton being nominated. And I meant, the second question is, I'm interested in how media has gone in the past, and I'm just really aware that the media in other parts of the world are much more tuned into this than our media is. So I'd just like to hear, what your challenges have been, what you're looking for.
Well, indeed, the media in the United States will seldom cover it until the day the Israelis stop us, but they won't cover the fact of, that the boat is sailing through like 17 days that we did with the women's boat, or 74 days that we'll be covering, that we'll be using this time. We do try to get U.S. media at one stage for the U.S. boat to Gaza. We had a film team from Democracy Now! On it, and then there was one woman that was on as a contractor for Democracy Now! In 2011 on the year. But it's very difficult for us to get U.S. media to go on the boat. It's because of the great pressures on the media not to cover anything that's trying to uplift the Palestinians. But if you know of certain journalists that might want to cover it, that have a reach in their journalism, we'd love to talk with them about it. On the issue of, but Al Jazeera always helps us out. And they will, I'm sure, have a film team on that last part. On earlier legs of the women's boat to Gaza, we had an Israeli woman journalist on board. We had Spanish journalists. We've had a number of journalists. In 2011, we had a New York Times guy that was supposed to be on the boat that had sailed to Gaza in 2011, but it didn't. On the issue of John Bolton as the new National Security Advisor, it is a disaster. That guy is a racist bigot, hates Palestine, and hates North Korea, hates Iran. I mean, there's no moderating influence in the White House now. I mean, for whatever you think about Tillerson, at least he tried to kind of calm things down. McMaster was always at loggerheads, maybe for the right reason with Trump. But now that we're going to have Pompeo as the Secretary of State and John Bolton as the National Security Advisor, we've got a big problem on our hands. And we need all hands on deck on that one also. Protests all over the country, and if you're ever in Washington, Code Pink Women for Peace is always doing something in the halls of Congress. So it's going to be tough, really tough.
And like with media too, we've been advised to use Vice for people to be actually going to the Facebook and liking it. We have tweets with Freedom Flotilla, hashtag Freedom Flotilla that would be nice for people to follow, which I'm just getting used to tweeting, but so any advice too from any folks of ways to, you know, get out there
Amplify the message.
is awesome. So please feel free to share
And within the Palestinian community too,
Yeah.
we'd love to have, you know, any contacts you have in Palestinian communities here or any place else. Other questions, comments? Yes?
So I've heard the opinion that the UN is kind of doing the bare minimum to help Palestinian people, and that they're prolonging the occupation budget and such. Where do you stand on that?
Whether the UN is prolonging the occupation?
Yeah, by kind of doing the bare minimum, not really focusing on like.
Well, the UN is only as powerful as its member states, and when you have a member state like the United States that doesn't want anything to happen other than for Israel, then the UN really has not much. The UN Security Council can't do anything with the US always vetoing things. I think the UN agencies themselves do everything they can to try to help Palestinians. And you do have the UN Works and Relief Agency. You have the World Health Organization that has now said that by 2020, Gaza will become unlivable because of the water, sewage, electrical problems. And that's a big statement from a major organization about the conditions in Gaza. So I think the agencies themselves are very realistic about what's happening. But it's when you have the UN Security Council, which kind of runs the show, and you have the ability of one country to veto anything. And the US always vetoes anything that has any negative consequences for Israel. And I wouldn't count on the UN to be the saving grace of it.
Yeah, the UN Security Council can veto, and the UN General Assembly can vote by majority. So there are other initiatives breaking the maritime blockade of Gaza, which is hoping to get an initiative pushed through, and just by majority, that could be that could happen. But then it would take one member state to say, okay, we're going to take our vote from our state, which is highly unlikely, but it's possible. So there are other initiatives, and so there's this whole thing of approaching this on all different levels that we need to pressure the powers that be. You know, whether it's the UN or our county with BDS or our state legislation or our feds. And we have to all work at all different levels. So yeah. This is our effort this year, and we're hoping that you will support it.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Well, we thank you all very much. Now we want to pass a hat.
Yes,
Yes, we do, and we want to give you all the opportunity to help us get this vote fully on the way. We got to cover the gas, the food, all of this for a vote going 74 days. So whatever you could do, we would appreciate it. And if you would like to have one of these beautiful, beautiful T-shirts, they're only $20, and we would love it. So we thank you all very, very much for being here, and please hang around, have some more food, and we thank the Rachel Foundation, Cindy, Craig, and Jessica for all of your kind help in putting this together. Thank you very much.